Think I'm live again. Oh, that was a nightmare. Oh, that was horrible. That was really bad. Oh. Yeah, so basically what happened then was, just bear with me because now it's oh, so I had to reset my internet, and then I had to reset the and then I had to reset my laptop, and then I had to wait for loads of other stuff, and it was just like and then I crashed Unreal, and just everything just went wrong. Just bear with me, I'm logging into my Streamlabs OBS. Streamlabs OBS was just like, no, it's not working, no. And I'm like, cool, thanks for that. So I'm back. Oh, that was a nightmare. So yeah, so I'm gonna monitor this through Twitch. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start from the beginning, just because yeah, that was just a nightmare and thingy. So I'm actually gonna create a new Unreal project. Yeah, I'll show you the substance config setup, and we'll go from there. So while I wait for this to load up, so I'm going to actually create a new thing, because the problem was it was also connected to my source control, and my source control was going slow because my internet wouldn't work. And just I need to play some Animal Crossing just to calm myself down. Okay, so yay, chat's coming through there, so I don't have to have that open. Woo. I'm going to create a new project. To be fair, you don't need first person. You could pick any of these, to be fair, because we're not really going to do anything. So I'm just going to pick first person. I'm going to pick with starter content, because the scene that I want to render in is in this starter content. I'm just going to call this demo. And I'm going to create this project where I've got more hard drive space. So I've already got a folder set up. So create project, and I'm going to open up Substance Painter as well. Dismiss. My fans are going to kick in because it's kicking in. Okay. So let's do the Substance Painter first. So if I open up my file on here, got my nice thing. So I'm just going to set up an export. So let's go into configuration, and I'm going to delete these. So remove. Now you've got Unreal Engine here. If I make this full, no I can't. You'll see that you've got Unreal 4 Packed, Unreal 4 PSM, and Unreal Engine 4SS. Now you've probably only got these two, Packed and Packed SSS. Now you could use these, but the thing with these ones is that the roughness goes into the green channel, the metallic mixed AO and the red and the blue. It doesn't matter as long as you set it up correctly in Unreal. It's just the way that I do it is red, roughness, green, metallic, AO, blue, glow in there. So we're just going to set up a new one. So if you click here, it's going to create a new one. If you right click on it, you can rename this. So UE4, not UE $, P PSM. And I'm going to create some new stuff here. So first thing is the albedo. So I'm going to click RGB. Now, if you wanted RGB plus alpha, you would click this one. Okay, but for this demonstration, we don't need an alpha. And I'm just going to come off here and go, okay, I need it to say the texture set here. So if I click the $, select texture set, and then call it albedo, that's going to save it the texture set name and albedo here. And then what we're going to do is drag the base color into there, RGB, there we go. The next one we need is the PSM, pack specular, so we're going to use RGB and plus alpha. So if I rename this and call it texture set PSM, make sure the $, or else it won't pick up this name here. And on here, I'm going to select roughness. Where are you? There we go. Hit the red channel from grey channel, because it's grey channels. So you can't put colour in any of these channels. Okay, that's why the colour one is here. And then we're going to use a mixed AO on blue. We're going to use a normal DirectX map. Oh no, we're not. Ignore. Sorry. We're going to use the metallic, wherever you are, in the green. And then we're going to take the emissive and plug it into the alpha. The next thing we're going to use is a normal. So I'm just going to do that. Select texture set and go normal. And I'm going to drag the DirectX on top of that one. And there we go, we've set it up how we want it. You can do this with whatever textures you want. Opacity, you could build another one. So if it's just the mask, you could put it here. And if your texture hasn't got a glow, you could put it in the alpha here. Or you could set up an alpha here as well. So you could do that one instead. So you could have the opacity mask here. So and base color like that. Okay, and that could work. So you could do it that way if you wanted to, or you could just set up this and just put the opacity into this here from grey channel and call this mask, however you want. So I would normally put it in the alpha channel of the albedo, just to save space, because if you've got in more than instead of like you've just saved all this space here, and then you're adding another texture just for a black and white image, which could easily go into the alpha of the albedo. So it's up to you, but for safe thingy, actually let's just do it. So and I can move them in whatever order I want. So that's ready. So now I just have to make sure that I select that one I've just made, and then I export it, and it'll export all the maps out like we did. Okay. So I'm just gonna right click, create a new folder. Okay, and again I'm just gonna get rid of that. And I'm going to drag these textures in like I did before. So make sure combine meshes is ticked, because at the moment it's not. So just make sure it's ticked. And again, I'm going to generate the light map inside of here. Oh, I forgot to untick materials. Make sure you untick materials because there's just no point in bringing them in. So if I just go on to here so you can see, you'll see that it's actually created a second UV channel for the light map. So when we do the bake, it should look good. Now, what I'm going to do is go File, Open Level. I'm going to find the maps, Advanced Lighting. I'm not going to save that for the time being. So this is what it looks like before. And all I do is I kind of just like get rid of that and then leave the rest here. And I'll show you how you change that in a minute because we're going to grab a HDRI and change it. So to build the material, if we create a new material and call this master map, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag these three in. And again, I'm going to select that into normal and that into diffuse, base color. Sorry. Now, what this is doing is it's dragging all RGB channels into one. We can drag individual ones like this. So we could, with the green channel, which is the metallic, we can drag into the metallic, like so. One thing I would do as well is I showed before, but if you select the object and then select the teapot, that will let you view the mesh inside the material editor, which is a really handy feature. And you just navigate it around 3D like you would 3D space holding Alt. Now there's a few things we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set up a roughness control. So this is pretty standard across the board. So if you want to do this, I'm going to hold 1 and left click. And that's going to create me a constant. And this is a value between 0 and 1. 0 black, 1 white. And I'm going to Control C, Control V, Control V, because I need 3 of these. This one is going to be set to -1. This one is going to be set to 1. And then as default, this is going to be set to 0.65. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to alert these values together. So if I drag out, you can either drag out using left click and then attach it to something, say, for this it's going to be alert. Maths alert. Or you could press L on the keyboard, hold L and left click, and it's going to give you that. Okay, or right click and it's going to give you the search function. Okay, now this and this. And this is very much, Substance Designer is very much similar to this. So if you get used to using this, transferring to Substance Designer to do materials is pretty straightforward. So yeah. Then I'm going to add this to an add. Okay, but the problem was this was attached to here. So if you press Alt and left click, that will detach your connection. I'm going to add it to here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take the red channel and plug it into the add. I'm going to take this, I'm going to add a clamp. I'm going to add that to the roughness channel. What a clamp does is it clamps this between 0 and 1, and it means that the user of this material can't go over 1. So it's good for restricting people's movement, because I'm going to show you how to make a master material and then instance from it. The only other thing we need to set up is the blue channel. So we're going to go ambient occlusion. Now, we did also bring an emissive, but it's black because there's no emissive on this. As you see here, we're pretty much done. Yeah. Anyway, so the next thing we know is just create an emissive section. So the thing to do for that is if we create a constant and a multiplier, and if we drag, I've got an itchy nose. If we drag the constant into the multiplier here, and then we drag the alpha into the A slot, and then if we drag this off into another multiplier, I'm just going to click M, and if you hold 3 on the keyboard and left click, that's going to create something called color picker. And we look here, we can pick colors from it because it's representing RGB. RGB, red, green, and blue. 2 vector is RG, red and green. 1 vector is black and white, 0 and 1. 4 vectors RGB plus alpha. So we couldn't actually do alpha with this, but we can do it if we had a 4 vector. And then what I'm going to do is just going to plug this into the emissive. Now don't worry, it doesn't have an emissive channel. So if we were to turn this on now, say 5, and actually add a colour to it, I don't think it would do anything. Yes, it's going to add the whole thing. So when you're creating a glow map or an emissive map, it would be black and white. Black being non-glowy, white being glowy. And it's best to do black and white glow maps in here because you can change the colour. So, if I wanted pink glow, quite good. Go extreme. Okay, anyway, but I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to make this back to black. So default is always black. Now, that's the material. So I'm going to comment on this. So I'm going to press C. That's going to give me a comment box. So I'm going to call this glow. It means that I can drag this off. I'm going to call this diffuse, albedo. Sorry. I'm going to call this roughness. I'm going to call this normal. And I'm going to call this PSM. Now, the reason why I've done this is for tidiness. So if you were to give this some material to someone else, they can easily use it and go from there, basically. Okay, now to navigate around here, it's just right mouse button, and you can navigate around, zoom in and out with the middle mouse button. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how to turn this into a master material. So at the moment, you could go around and keep making these materials, but that's quite long-winded and it's better to use instance materials. So if you right click on here, you're going to convert this to a parameter. And what that does is it allows me to not do that. So double click and I can call this albedo. Okay. And I'm going to parameterize these two as well. I'm going to go convert to parameter, glow color. And I'm going to do the same with this, right click, parameterize. I'm going to call this glow control. Same with this one. I'm going to convert to parameter and call this PSM. And you guessed it, I'm going to convert this to a parameter and I'm going to call it normal. The only last thing I'm going to convert is this. I'm going to call it roughness control. Now the reason for that is because then this allows me to, and if I click apply, now what I've just done is I've just parameterized the different nodes so that they're exposed now, and you can change them on dependent instances. So if I close this down now, and if I right click here and say create material instance and call this okay, hopefully I've got the demo for this. So I'm just going to grab something from Cenotaph. So for example, it's easier to do this. Just going to bring those in. Rename. I'm going to call this STYL. Okay, you'll notice that it's a little bit different to, say, the actual master material. Whereas the master material, it gives you all these nodes. Yeah, what this is more what you, Patrick, you're probably used to, which is Unities where you just drag and drop stuff on it. But with Unreal, you as an artist can create that yourself. These shaders, and then use this as like a, say you've got a big team, you can like build a load of shaders and then give them these materials to use, so that all they're doing is dragging and dropping onto it, and you're keeping it consistent throughout the workflow. And then all you do is just tick these, okay, and then we can change it. So for this I'm not going to change it because it's stylized well. But for, say, if I want to create a new instance, I right click on the master, create material instance, and call this book case. I double click on it. Let's you'll notice now that it's using the bookcase, and we can actually change this as well. So say you wanted to change the roughness on it, we can change the roughness, we can change the glow on the fly. Doesn't work on there because we don't have the alpha coming out the bookcase PSM, but for say this one, and you could then right click create material instance and call this and you can see that it hasn't affected this one, and it hasn't affected the master material. Let me just delete those. Yeah, so master materials is the way forward, because you only have to make one and then it does the job whatever you think. You can add to it as well. So for example, if you wanted to add more functionality in this, say you wanted to set it up as you wanted to set the opacity mask up, you can just drag and drop that in, okay, and then in the whenever you need to use the instance opacity mask, you can turn it on here. Let me just apply. Now it's not going to do anything because we don't have an opacity mask in there, but with it in there, all we would do on the instanced material that we want to affect opacity mask is we can change material properties here and change it to masked. Now it's not going to do anything because we don't have a mask in there at the moment, but we can just change it dependent on the material. So we're not damaging the lower this material here, we're just changing the these materials that you've made from this instance. So hopefully that helps a little bit with that. Yeah, so I want to render this. Let's just create material. So I want to render this, so I'm just going to drag this into the scene. I'm going to add the material to it. But this is a bit boring. This is Epic's headquarters, I think. Yeah, by the looks of it. So we don't want to use that. So I'm just going to open up a Google tab and go to HDRI Haven. And I'm going to find myself a HDRI. So let's go. Let's go that one, Railway Bridge. And I'm just going to download the 2K version. You could download 4K, 8K. Just size, remember. So I'm going to drag and drop this into Unreal's here. Just drag and drop it in. And it'll recognize that it's a HDRI because it's saved in a format that will recognize it. And then if you go to BP Light Stage, you can drag and drop this on. And now it's a bit overblown, but bear with me. So you need to build the lighting. So I'm just going to build it. There is a couple of settings that I need to do, but I need to find the document for it. So here are you, canvas. And there you go. There it is. And it's built the lighting around it. But the problem is, if you try and render this now, say we put a cinematic camera in, and I'm just going to right click pilot camera. Let's just bring this back up. I'm going to have a look for the well, yeah, there you go. So I'm going to set this up, so I'm just going to change the sensor height and width. Yeah. Let's go 20. So I've got my camera set up. This is the render I want to do. Maybe not the best, but it's probably, you don't want this background, or you don't want this. So if you click on here, you can actually come down to rendering, and if you tick render custom depth pass, and if you come up to here, I'm just going to press G to get rid of all the game assets. I'm just going to come up to here and go to screenshot, high resolution screenshot, and I'm going to tick here. It actually creates yourself a green screen. And if I change this to 4, it's going to, it gets roughly around a 4K image. Hit take the screenshot, and then if I find it here, you can then go and say, like, so for example, I go to table flip. I've got like a Photoshop file already set up for this. So then what I can do is, let me just go back to this, plug this in. Scale it down. And there you go, I've got it kind of on there for things. So that's a very quick way of like taking renders of assets and having some really cool lighting in there. You can play around with the lighting as well, so I'm just going to untick that. I'm just trying to find the document that I use. I think it's on Canvas. Yeah. Where are you? No, Rich, I didn't stop streaming. I just had severe technical issues. I had to restart the computer, I had to restart the internet, and then it took me a while because I did want to show Patrick and Kerry this. They're two of my master students in the chat. How to do this. I can't find this documentation. Maybe it's here? It's a presentation that was done by one of Louis' friends, very good environment artist, and it's really good. Okay, this isn't it, but this is a really good article on setting up lighting inside of Unreal, especially for interior stuff. Hi, here we go. These are the values. So what I'll do is I'll drop this in the chat so that you've got reference to it. Hopefully it doesn't. There we go. So if you go into world settings, and if you go to light mass and do the do here, you'll see that thing here. And what I'm basically going to do is 0.2. I'm going to bump that up to 100. 15. I'm just going to make this slightly bigger so we can see. Okay, so this value has to add up to 1, okay? So if we were to do every 0.2, we would have to basically make sure that indirect lighting quality is set to 5. 5 times 0.2 is 1. So for example, if this is 0.1, And I will just quickly change this to 256 and just have a quick look at the optimization viewport. There we go, that's fine, that's cool, everything's green. So if we were to build this now, after putting these settings in, so we'll build. I'm not sure how long this will take. So what that's done is it's helped make the shadows. Ooh, there we go. I have to rebuild that again. It just helps when it's baking the shadows. It calculates it instead of every one Unreal unit. It calculates it's every 0.1 Unreal unit. So then you start to get cleaner bakes, but you can also, if your light maps aren't great, it can make them look worse. So it's about playing around with these settings. As long as this number adds up to 1, by timesing it by this number, you should be fine. Again, it's all about experimentation. So for example, indirect smoothing. Yeah, this guy uses 0.75. I'm just going to keep it to 1. Is there anything else I need to change? I can use ambient occlusion, so I can actually bake the ambient occlusion in. So I'll do that in a minute. Okay. That's fine. We can go over and just build this again. I'm only building this on medium as well, so yeah. Sorry about that. If you put it to production, the build times go up. If you change these quite drastically, the build times will go up as well. So it's a bit of balance, basically. And all I'm using in the scene is, it's called BP light stage, and it's just got a directional light in there, which is represented to the sun. In other scenes, you probably put skylight in there as well. And yeah. Okay. Let's not do that. Yeah. So we've got a bake. We've baked ambient occlusion in there as well, so we're getting more ambient occlusion. And yeah. The other thing you can play around with is post-processing. So depending on what you want to kind of go for in terms of that, you can play around with it. Now, I'd always do color grading at the very end. Don't do it as you're going along, because it's not going to be worth it. But yeah, so you can play around with chromatic aberration. You want to go really extreme. You want to probably keep depth of field on the camera, so you can actually do the same on cameras. You can do like depth of field, chromatic and all that. In this I probably use ambient occlusion, so you can make it slightly darker and you can change the radius on it as well. So if things are sitting on the floor, they don't look like they're floating, unless they are floating like that. But yeah, like you can make it so it sits nicely on the floor basically. Ambient Q map is the same. You can drag this in. You can also add a bit of a tint to it as well. Yeah, so that's a pretty cool one to use. I haven't used any of the ray tracing yet. Global illumination, so if this can help brighten up your scene, but it can also be, it can wash your scene out. Again, you can also play around with the colours on this, so yeah. But like I said before, you only do colour correction or colour grading, sorry, once you finish. So once you finish your scene, you can do colour grading. You can also, I've got this installed on this pack. Let me just install it. It's going to take 2 seconds. I've got a this here. So if I just add this to the project, and this was a free lookup table that was on the, I think it might be still free. And it's basically gives you a load of different lookup tables for color grading, and you can add them here. So say for example, yeah, a bit Instagrammy. Setting sun. There's loads of other ones that I've got, like film ones, stock film vintage, black and white if I wanted to, a bit more vintage, a bit more colour in that. That's very, I like that one actually. It's a comic book one. So loads of different ones. 90s green. Yeah. So yeah, you can get that. I think it's free on the store, or I think it was free on the store last month. It might not be anymore. And you can, or you could do it yourself. So you can actually play around with it yourself and come up with some cool ones yourself. Cool. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you for bearing with me. I know there was a lot of trouble there. Thank you. You're all awesome for doing that. And yeah, sorry again for the problems. And yeah, I'll probably be streaming on Saturday, so I might see some of you there. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next stream.